Supreme Court has by 5-2 majority decision ruled that the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Kingsford Sumana Bagbin's declaration of 4 seats vacant on October 17, 2024 is unconstitutional. You will recall that Alban Sumana Bagbin declared 4 seats Amefi Central constituency in the Western region, Fomena in Ashanti region, Suhum in the Eastern region, and Agona West constituency vacant because the MPs filed to contest the December election as independent candidates in their respective constituencies. This declaration made the opposition National Democratic Congress NDC the majority caucus with a 1-seat advantage of the MPP. MP Fuefutu Alexander Afenyo filed an injunction application at the Supreme Court in response to the Speaker's declaration questioning its constitutionality. At a brief sitting today, Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu said the Speaker's declaration cannot hold.
By court, in a majority decision of 5-2, Lovelace Johnson JSC and Amadou Tanko JSC dissenting on the issue of jurisdiction, the plaintiff's action succeeds. The full reasons and orders of the court shall be filed with the registrar by close of day tomorrow, 13th November 2024. This is the judgment of the court.
So that's the Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu. Lawyer for the plaintiff Joe Gatti spoke to the media after the court ruling.
The 1992 Constitution in Article 1 says that sovereignty lies in the people. That sovereignty was expressed when the people, through a referendum, voted to bring this Constitution into force. And the Constitution tells us that the supreme law of Ghana is the Constitution. Everybody else is under the Constitution. Nobody is above anybody. Everybody has his role. And so the fact that the Supreme Court interprets the Constitution does not mean that they are above anybody. In fact, there are judges sitting on the bench. One of them is my classmate. My juniors are on the bench. But once they go and sit there, even if it's my own child sitting there, I cannot but bow and give the person respect, not for the person, but for the office and for the law. And we expect every other Ghanaian to also respect the law. We don't all agree on what is said and what is done. There are several times that I've disagreed with what is said and what is done. But because of the respect for the rule of law, because of the respect for the Constitution, we just keep quiet and follow the law, hoping that if we don't agree, another opportunity will come that we'll be able to express ourselves. So what has happened today, we have not seen the reasons. We are happy because we came to court because we believed that the right thing was that the people had not by their action vacated their seats. So what has happened to them, we are happy about it. Tomorrow, the reasons will come out. And when the reasons come out, as lawyers, then we can look at the reasons and what the court has said, and then we can discuss it. In fact, the fact that the court has ruled in your favor does not mean that you agree with the reasons. You might decide that even the reasons some of the judges gave, you do not agree with it. 2 of the judges talked about jurisdiction. We don't know what they said, so tomorrow we will know. And when we know, we will prepare to answer more questions in detail. But as was said by the leader, as far as I'm concerned, today democracy has won, constitutionalism has won. And Bagbin has lost. No, nobody has lost. Every one of us is holding every position that we hold in trust for the people of Ghana. We don't hold it in our own capacity. When you are an MP, when you are a minister, when you are a president, when you are a speaker, when you are a chief justice, you hold it in trust for the people of Ghana and you are under the law. Your time will come and you leave the position, and that's what we must all right. So the 4 MPs have been reinstated. They must come to Parliament, and as far as I'm concerned, if the status quo ante is brought back, then there's a dispute that people call him caucus leader or whatever. It should stop from today. We have a majority, which is MPP, and the majority leader is Honorable Alexander Afenyo.
So that's the lawyer for the plaintiff, Joe Gatti, speaking to the media after the court ruling. Attorney General and Minister of Justice Godfrey Adame, for his part, asked Speaker Bagbin to stop the hypocrisy and respect the court's decision.
Well, I think the court has spoken in very clear and emphatic terms. And of course, the only thing anybody has to do is to respect the constitution. That is the mark of a civilized democratic order. It leaves no room for any argument whatsoever. And the majority decision, very big majority, clear majority, 5-2. It's not as if it was a narrow majority, 3-4 or 4-3, that anyone can say, well, there's some room for kind of review or anything at all. But the point I'm making is that whenever the court speaks, is as a clear and emphatic order. Even if it's a very narrow majority, that's the decision of the court, and that decision must be respected. And I'm saying that it will result in a degeneration of our society and a destruction of our democratic order for anybody at all to refuse to comply with orders of the Supreme Court. And I think that's non-negotiable and something that we must all respect. I have heard some statements by certain political actors to the effect that the case ought to be done and that there ought to be negotiation and all that. I'm quite surprised because indeed, firstly, I did not hear such expression of willingness to negotiate a law or maybe such instruction to the speaker or direct suggestion to the speaker for negotiation and law when the speaker started embarking on this act. And I think that for me it's very important that the Supreme Court ruled upon this matter because it is something that had been occurring in this country. A tendency for it to occur really was there. A tendency for it to occur again was there. It was necessary that the Supreme Court came to this clear conclusion and determination of the matter. The meaning of Article 97 Clause 1 paragraphs J and H. And I think we must all respect it. I think the Speaker of Parliament himself, to start with, indicated in his address to the press last week that the case raised very serious legal issues. Those were serious legal issues and matters bordering on governance in the country. In fact, so I must express my shock, utter shock, at this refusal to even file a process. If indeed the Speaker of Parliament himself recognized that the matter, as he said to the media last week, where else would you address legal issues but in the court of law? Where else would you have such a definitive pronouncement on the so-called serious legal issue that the Speaker himself recognized in his statement done by the Supreme Court of Ghana? So as for the Speaker of Parliament, indeed, is law-abiding. I've known him for a very long time to comply with the decision of the Supreme Court. As I said, it is non-negotiable in every civilized society. When an order of the court is given, no matter how highly placed or lowly placed the court is, even if it's a magistrate's court, you have to obey until it is set aside. What does it relate to this? The American Constitution itself, very thin, as you all know. Yet, the Supreme Court, that Constitution has survived over 200 years. I think that, of course, there are certain provisions in the Constitution that I think that ought to be amended, and I've expressed my views on it to the media. Article 78 Clause 1, which enjoins the President to appoint majority of his ministers from Parliament, ought to be amended. There ought to be that flexibility. I think that certain institutions, for example, the Electoral Commission, NCC and what have you, the appointment of their heads has to be with the prior approval of Parliament. But not think that it calls for a complete overhaul of the Constitution. And indeed, this Constitution is very strong, and it is one Constitution which even goes as far as prescribing consequences of a failure to carry out the Supreme Court order. The Supreme Court order, the consequences are set out clearly in Article 2, Clauses 3, 4, and 5 of the Constitution, that any person to whom an order of the Supreme Court is directed shall duly carry out same. And a failure to carry out such an order, of course, has the consequences of a criminal punishment. In the case of the President, will even result in the President and Vice President will result in removal from office. As I said, it's an emphatic determination by the court on the matter, and the Speaker of Parliament has no option but to comply. I mean, I think that we must stop giving with one hand and taking with the other. As I said, it really amounts to double standards and an exercise in contradiction for the Speaker of Parliament in his address to the media say that the case raises such serious legal issues and matters bordering on governance and all that, and then refuse to take back. So this country refuse to take part in the proceedings. I think in this country we must recognize some people for who they are and what they do.
So that's the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, Godfrey Yabadame, speaking to the media after the court ruling. Let me go to Parliament and speak to my colleague Avila Kekeli, because we understand that the majority led by Afenyo would address the media shortly. But Kekeli, thank you so much for your time. So you are the court. Share with us the reactions from the majority leader.
It was all about he was excited about the ruling, but then he's talking about the right of the
Kekeli, kindly position yourself very well. I hardly hear you.
Okay. So, Honorable Afenyo expressed too much enthusiasm and excitement about the decision of the court today, and this is calling on the right of the Speaker to advance the Supreme Court decision and also call on the minority NCC to go and to vacate the majority position and go and occupy the minority seat when the event that the House is record. For now, said that they will join the report with the minority to iron out their issues or their differences and make sure that financial businesses are run, particularly when it has to do with the PHS bill, the budget bill, and all other issues before the House.
We can only thank God, and also it's a moment for all of us to rally around the choice we made in 1992. Democracy. Democracy requires decency, and that is the path the MPP majority caucus took to ensure that we do right to the law. Nothing more except to say that we expect our colleagues on the other side, including Mr. Speaker, to respect the outcome of this case so that we will move on as a nation. All we have is the peace of the country. All we have is our democracy. And in West Africa and in Africa as a whole, Ghana shines in the eyes of the people in terms of democracy. So this is another feat we have achieved, and we must celebrate it. It's not a matter of MPP against NDC. It's a matter of constitutional interpretation, and the court has given its verdict. We should all respect it and move on. All we want is peace in the country, and we chose peace, and today we've achieved peace.
And that's the Member of Parliament for Futu constituency and also the Majority Leader in Parliament, Alexander Kwame Afenyo, marking speaking to the media after the court ruling. Kekeli, so I noticed some members of Parliament that's on the part of the majority. I saw the Majority Chief Whip, Anodon Pre there. I saw a number of people. What did they say together?
They are all saying their leader of this market now. And this also expresses their excitement. On the part of Mr. Hammond, he's really not so excited about the decision of the speaker. And if the speaker, according to him, lost, that's a great excitement. But I also kind of want to challenge him a bit on why, when Professor Michael Quay a ruling said, maybe lawyers, the chamber is knowing the originality of all that. Why did they say Professor Michael Quay actually did or set that bad precedent? He wasn't so excited about that second. I think to him, he couldn't say that Professor Michael Quay was wrong and he said that the Supreme Court today has overturned the second decision and or it's a decision which you see dear colleagues and the four MPs return back to Parliament.
Today has been a significant day for us, and the judgment speaks for itself. I think two judges had issues with the jurisdiction. So today is a day for democracy, and it states that whatever we are doing as Ghanaians, we should respect the law. The Constitution of Ghana, 1992 Constitution, is the biggest, and we must respect it. No winner, no loser, and today democracy has been reinstated, and we expect the Speaker to act as such.
He has no choice. He has to abide by the ruling of the Supreme Court. He has no choice.
It's a way forward.
The way forward is for him. He was behaving very badly and unconstitutionally. The Speaker of Parliament is supposed to be the custodian of the Constitution. This man decides that he will not respect the Constitution. Not only that, he would not respect the apex court of the land. It's outlandish. I haven't seen anything like in my life. I heard this argument. He respects the supremacy of the Constitution, but he doesn't respect the supremacy of the Supreme Court. What does it mean? Somebody said, what do I have against Bagbin? My very good friend. Everybody accepts. He's a class prefect. You all know that. But the point is that I do not agree that a person of his caliber would not respect the ruling of the Supreme Court. Now it has been very crystally put by the Supreme Court. The writ filed by our majority leader of the House has succeeded. The Speaker Bagbin has absolutely no choice now to comply. Tell Ato and his followers to move back to where they originated onto our seat. We expect that to be done without fail. Bagbin must learn to respect the authority of the Supreme Court.
One question for you.
Which one?
Why did you aid Professor Michael Quay to flout the...
I said, how did I aid? Are you now making a personal attack? How did I aid? I do not even remember that particular ruling. At that time, we had about 169 or so members on our side. Nobody recalls that. Not question of not carried. I don't even remember. It is until this matter came up that the issue came up. And consistently, I've said that we're fine. He may have sold. He was wrong. He was wrong. But the matter didn't get the opportunity of surfacing in the Supreme Court. Now it has.
All right, so that's the Member of Parliament for Adansa Sokwa, Kwabena Tahir Hammond, speaking to my colleague in that that's mild banter. Kekeli, so you asked him about the fact that why did he supervise the declaration of the vacants in the 2020? He said that he has no idea about it. He's forgotten about it.
Yes, but I would want to take the press out by
Okay.
the which is going to start. Yes.
Kegali, if you can hear me, can you reposition the yourself very well, because we hardly hear the interaction from the majority.
We are proud we took this matter to court, led by the leader. We are also proud that the response to stop on the April. So without much ado, we want to thank you very much. Let all be careful in our case. This is a solemn moment for us, the country. This is very critical of the Pacific Park. A number of landmark cases that we've taken to court and had court pronouncements. We do not want all of them. It is not to define the representation of our the Ghanaian people for the patients, and once again, it's not proof that we are still law-abiding party, and when we start to severity.
All right, so let's re-establish contact with the press conference happening in Parliament. So let's go back to Parliament, because the Member of Parliament for Sawem another praise addressing the press.
The Ghanaian people for the patience, and once again also proving that we are a civil, law-abiding political party, and we resort to civility other than violence. So once again, I thank you for this opportunity, and maybe let me hear your questions. Don't forget, you don't have to be repetitive. The leader has spoken.
All right, so that's the MP, Frank Anodompre, addressing the media on the way forward. Kekeli, let me